Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The reason I'm saying that when it's 7 p.m. is it is actually 7 a.m. in Singapore, where the vast majority of the creators who are talking today are in right now. For everyone on this side of the international date line, it is a good and wonderful evening. My name is Jack Holder. I am the editor of the Great Commandment comics anthology. And today for our interviews, we are coming at you from Monday and Tuesday alike, and as far-flung as Boston and Singapore. Today we have the creators for the Fall from Grace story, with KJ, Povet, and Colette all here talking about their own backgrounds, their comic Fall from Grace, and what it's like working across the Pacific Ocean to bring a new comic to life. We are going to be having way too many hijinks. It is way too early for them and just right time for me to be having this, so I will be drinking in solidarity with my interviewees. So let's talk about this wonderful comic that KJ, Povet, and Colette brought, and let's answer some questions that you may have. If you have any, please post them below. Please like the video, share it so more people can ask their own questions, and let's have a grand old time. So, first question that most people often get is, what is the Great Commandment? What is this comics anthology? What's Kickstarter? What is going on? So, the Great Commandment is a comics anthology delving into what commands mean. Now, each and every one of us have commands that pervade, invade, and take over every aspect of our lives. We have the more highbrow commands of, you must love your neighbor as yourself, or we the people in order to form a more perfect union, to the more commonplace heard everyday commands of, go do the freaking dishes, actually get on the interview, it is 6:30, so let's talk with these people, to the lowbrow and purely felt commands of, be excellent to each other and live long and prosper. But just as important as these commands are, so too is our response of, yeah, but what does that all mean? And in the Great Commandment comics anthology, you have over 24 responses from more than 50 artists spread out from all over the world. You have creators writing stories about samurai Akitas defending their homes against ninja cats, giants, and mailmen. You have Taoist hippos on a desert island eating bananas while talking about the suffering that is life. We extend all the way up to the halls of Valhalla, down to a train ride. And we have a young boxer who is trying to figure out how to be dominant and give glory to God while also keeping that small shred of personal glory to himself. And is that enough to make him fall from grace? Is that enough? Well, answering that question are the three creators of this. Now we have three creators from Singapore here. KJ, Povet, and Colette answered a call for submissions halfway around the world. I don't understand what they saw that made them click submit, but they are here telling you about their story, about their own personal lives, and I cannot be happier to have them here. So starting with KJ, can you tell us a little bit about who you are? Because especially from us, we really want to hear about you.
All right, hi everyone. I'm KJ, and I'm a comic book writer and artist in Singapore. All right, so I recently started getting into comics. I think just last year. Okay, so basically, I have been drawing since I was young, but getting more seriously into comics was only last year. All right, so last year I did my very first comic series, which was called The World Marina. All right, and it's basically about this low self-esteem teenager and his life with martial arts. Yep. So in fact, the third issue was the very first issue that I collaborated with Povet right before we worked together on the Great Commandment. Yep. So yeah, for the Fall from Grace story, I am the co-writer along with Colette and also the artist, while Paviv was the colorist for us.
Excellent. Now, Povet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because when we started, you were talking about how fresh you were to the comic scenes.
So, my name's Povet. I'm still a new comic colorist coming into the industry and just finding my way around not only the software but also how the industry works and all that. And I've been practicing visual communication and design communication, so I'm basically like a graphic design student. But I've been exploring the use of colors in comics because I think colors is a very expressive and detailed tool that's super underestimated. And the first comic cover, which is the one I did for KJ for the World Arena #3. It was my first break into the industry, so to speak, and it was where it kind of kickstarted my passion to kind of try and progress this, try to work on more comics, interiors, covers, kind of explore this coloring element, and that's where Fall from Grace came along. And just looking at the art that KJ had done, I had to try and bring his comics to life. Like his style is very different, and I think it's unique. So it calls to attention a very unique style of coloring, and yeah, that's kind of where it began and where it started.
Excellent. And I'm so thankful that Colette is not showing her face because she's going to just put the three guys to shame. So thank you for letting us pretend that we are the most handsome people on the stream. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and this story?
Yeah. Hi. So for myself, this is my first time actually working on a comics project together with KJ. So I'm really intrigued and interested in like this topic when KJ shared with me on the Great Commandment. I think like Jack, you have mentioned that there is a lot of definition to what a commandment is like to everybody. So for me, with my religious beliefs, I straight away thought about the verse in the Bible, to love like God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. So that's one of the very very big inspiration to the story, and I thought it was very apt in this time of uncertainty and messiness in the world with the COVID situation. And I think it's really a good time to share this story and to actually hear from all the other creators on their definition of a commandment.
Excellent. And Colette is absolutely correct. So the Great Commandment, for those of us here who are maybe more secular or at least not super Christian, it does in fact reference the constant question that Jesus of Nazareth, or for Christian followers, Jesus Christ, was asked, Rabbi, what is the greatest commandment? And he responds exactly as Colette said, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your mind and with all your soul and with all your strength. And the second is like it, you must love your neighbor as yourself. You must love your neighbor as yourself, the golden rule that pervades almost every religion that I've ever seen. Zoroastrian, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, all sorts. You'll see Satanists here in the United States who will trumpet the golden rule and hold it just as fervently. So we talk about Fall from Grace. I'm going to try and describe this without spoiling. So if Colette or KJ could unmute themselves just so they can like shout spoilers if I start going too far. We have this boxer, Adam, who is down on his luck. First page, non-spoilery. He's trying to just live his life and try and be a good person while getting beat up. Think Captain America for MCU, getting beat up and is believing in God and is actually starting to progress. And with that sort of progress in boxing may come a certain level of big-headedness. And then what is that proper? Was it just because he trained and had a goal, or was it because of something else? So that was from Colette. KJ, you are also like the co-writer, penciler, and inker. Can you describe the creation process for Fall from Grace?
All right. Yeah. So for the inspiration of the story, it came from Colette, and I help mostly with the scripting portion of it, like breaking down into the panels, in terms of the dialogues, and yeah. But the main part of the inspiration came from Colette. Yeah. So as she mentioned, I think the title of as a Christian, so the title of this anthology, the first thing that we thought of was, of course, the Great Commandment in the Bible. Yeah. So that's the direction that we went ahead with. And subsequently we thought of this, we came up with this story about this boxer and how he reached the top of the world, basically. And I think yeah, so once he reaches the top of the world, basically he's a world champion for boxing right now, and he still so he will often just credits all his victories to God. And yeah, so as in yeah, so the story will basically revolve around, like, in a way, like, while someone who's on the top, while they can verbally just credits their victories and their achievement in life to God, but deep down in their heart, it could be just taking it as a personal glory rather than really meaning what they say it out. Yeah. So that was the whole idea behind this story and how we go about presenting it.
Excellent. And KJ, you and Colette were coming up with a fantastic story delving into the difference between almost our responses to faith based on whether or not we're quote unquote winning. It is so much easier to look for help and to acknowledge help when it doesn't feel like we personally are winning. Like when we need help, of course, I'm going to reach towards you, God. But once you're on top, and once you actually reach the summit that you've been striving for pretty much all your life, do you still want to share the mountaintop? Do you want to share your victory? So Povet, what was it like? So Colette and KJ gave you this story and you had no pressure. Do this sort of thing. How was coloring this?
I think the most important thing for the coloring aspect was to capture the emotions and the vibes, basically, that they wanted to capture. Because even though it was not it's not an extensive story arc, but it's still a story arc that is very emotional and very deep. And to show that using colors, it was challenging because I mean I was still new in the industry, but having to show the light, the way his actions affect not only him but the surrounding and how the environment he is in also affects him. I think that was definitely a challenge to show that using colors, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
As am I. I'm extremely happy about that. Let's dive into the anthology process because this is the farthest I've ever worked with anyone easily. I've worked with artists in China for coloring for my own personal comics, but this must have been really interesting. I would be sending a weekly email to KJ. For me, it would be bright and early in the morning, which meant that he was probably looking at this at 10:30 at night going, all right, he's now sent the email. So what was it like trying to not just create a comic for you here in Singapore? I say here in Singapore, but what was it like trying to work halfway around the world with an editor?
So actually the local comic scene in Singapore is considerably still fairly niche. Yeah, so I thought like, okay, why not we try something new? Perhaps working with an international publisher or international team lah. Right. So I just happened to chance upon the notice for Great Commandment actually. One day after I think I woke up in the morning and I just I was scrolling through Facebook. So I think you shared it in one of the Facebook groups. So that's how I came to know about the Great Commandment. And seeing the title, I was pretty intrigued about it. So I reached out to Colette to see whether she has any idea for this lah. Yeah, and it's also the first time that we are submitting a story to like Paviv mentioned. It's not just his first international publication. It's actually also ours, the whole team actually. Yeah. So yep. So subsequently, I sent the link to Colette, and she came out with the idea. So eventually, we went on to come out with the script and pitch to Jack, and we are so glad that you love the idea. So we started to create the story lah. Yeah. So after creating the script, I was doing the penciling and as well as the inking. Initially, I was thinking, okay, perhaps I could do the coloring myself, but actually, I after I did the inking, I'm like, my coloring skills isn't that good, so I had to find someone to help me with the coloring. And the first person who came to my mind was Paviv, of course. Especially, this story came right after our first collaboration, right? So he was the ideal person to look for. And in fact, ever since this project, we have been collaborating for quite a few more as well. Yep. So after he finished the art, it was beautiful anyway. And I did the lettering as well. Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole entire process for this Fall from Grace story. Throughout the entire process, it was actually a very good experience. Even though we were living in different parts of the world, like Jack, yourself is in US, it's actually really easy to communicate with you. Yeah, you were very responsive whenever we needed help. Yeah, so it was a very, very smooth process and it was a good experience.
Wonderful. If you're watching this and wondering if I'm setting this up for praise, trust me, no. This is the first time that I hear some of these responses to these questions. I'm not scrolling through going, okay, what kind of compliment can I get from myself? No. But I love being able to reach out to Colette and KJ and Povet because it opened up a really new world to me personally. We were trying to figure out what kind of extra rewards could we do for the Great Commandment? What can we do? And KJ's like, well, I've got this comic, The World My Arena, and I can send you the first issue and we can print that out. I'm like, great, send it over to me. He's like, first thing I've ever done. I'm like, okay, I'm perfectly okay with that. And he sent me it and I read it and I almost cried. And I hated that because I had work that day. And KJ can you tell a little bit, because it's very much, it is like Fall from Grace in that you're delving into deeper issues, and this also delves into certain things that are really important, especially in high school.
Yeah, so regarding the World Marina, which was mentioned by Jack, this is the comic book, and this is the very first issue of it. So the whole idea of this, the World Marina, is it basically revolves around this low self-esteem teenager who's basically very disliked by everybody in his life, and he's the victim of of school bullying, so victim of bullying in school. Yeah, so this whole series will be about, it's like a hero's journey of the main character, who is Nathan, and his growth in throughout the whole story with martial arts as well. Yeah, so like we will be delving into topics like it's like something of along the line of depression, as well as bullying in school for this whole entire series. Yeah, and why did we choose why did I choose martial arts is because back when I was first writing this story, I was actually doing martial arts myself as well. Yeah, I was pretty into martial arts at the time. So like Jeet Kune Do as well as boxing. So these are elements that are included in the story. And I guess you can guess why Fall from Grace has some boxing element in it. Because yeah, at the time when I was writing it, I was also doing boxing myself. So in a way, I tried to place some elements of my own life into stories that I'm writing, so that it's easier for me to write as well, because I have some understanding of the topic that I'm writing. Yeah. So that's about it for the World Marina. It's still an ongoing series. The way I write it or set up the story is, I would say, is a lot influenced by manga and anime, because that's what I grew up with. And my favorite would be Hunter x Hunter, or there are other anime such as what else are there? Right, like Full Metal Alchemist they mentioned previously. So yeah, all these anime, and I really like the way Japanese manga artists, how they set up their whole story, and there's actually character development or deep character development throughout the entire series. And that was what I was really hoping for when I was writing out this story and drawing the art. And yeah, it's the first time that I'm doing the comic book for the World Marina. I did the art. It's the very first time I'm drawing a comic, writing a comic. So now that I'm looking back at it, I think I've improved quite a fair bit from since then. Yeah, but I still hope that it's still a good read for everyone out there. And I'm very glad to hear from Jack himself, who is a very experienced comic writer, that he enjoyed the story. So I think that is a very good, very, very big praise, and yeah, to my work. So I'm very grateful for it.
So very much thank you on that one. KJ, Povet, and I were nerding out earlier before we jumped on about anime, and we started talking about this. We talked about Hunter x Hunter. I still think Yu Yu Hakusho was a little bit better for that particular writer's work, but Hunter x Hunter is still very fun. My wife is still bugging me that we need to finish watching that series. Thank you, Netflix. We'll jump on and watch Seven Deadly Sins. We'll watch My Hero Academia, which is a lot more acceptable in the West. But what I really love about Fall from Grace as well is KJ and Povet are giving their love of anime, their love of boxing here, and call it, you really seem to be trying to infuse your own personal theology and beliefs in here. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because it was amazing just seeing this brought to life.
Okay. I guess I am a little different from you guys. I don't really watch anime, unfortunately. Um, but for myself, it's like when KJ shared with me, okay, this anthology is gonna be on the Great Commandment. So I mean, without like a bit, I thought about like what the Great Commandment meant to me, like and like so like as a Christian from young, it is definitely reference from the Bible. So I was just thinking about, okay, this verse to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. And then thinking also in today's context, there are a lot of things that will be distracting us. And like you said, like we'll kind of fight for the mountaintop. So it is really looking at the different things that people treasure, fame, money, and victories, little victories in life, and slowly it will deviate the Great Commandment, whereby we should like love God with all our heart and all our soul and all our mind, and that um this story actually kind of unfold a little bit more on that, like how someone's experience and life journey can actually deviate from this commandment that was introduced to him at the beginning of the story.
Exactly. And thank you so much, Colette, for doing this. This is the second anthology that I've run. The first one was called Why Faith. Uh, Unfortunately, I didn't get a submission from KJ, or else he most likely would have been joining this book. It was very much talking about why one does have faith. What does one have faith in? And this follow-up book very much was saying, okay, we have faith in certain things. You can't take commands from someone or something you don't believe in. What next? How does that affect one's life? How does this shape every single aspect? You can have faith in government as well as the Lord our God. I very much grew up in a strong Christian household. I have lost track of how many pastors are in my family. If you laugh, I was getting questions from three pastors last weekend, not 2 days ago, but the weekend before. So why haven't you finished your Latin and your Hebrew so you can become a pastor too? I'm like, no, I'm gonna write comics and I'm still not gonna make any money, but it'll be nice and pretty. That is what I've been hoping and what I believe God has called me to do. God's called me to talk with people from all over the world and from all different faiths to actually celebrate our differences, because I truly believe God is one, but we don't all see God the exact same way. People may not even see God and still enact the divine plan exactly as God intended. So we have reached what I call the QVC, or Home Shopping Network, portion of the interview, because we are selling the Great Commandment going on. If people like what we've been talking about with the Great Commandment, you can actually get it. In Singapore, yes, you absolutely can get the Great Commandment in Singapore. You can get Why Faith if you wanted that as well. We also have a deluxe version of the Great Commandment with added artwork and behind the scenes work. We also have a Creators First package where people can get The World My Arena alongside a bunch of other amazing comics. And we also just unlocked a brand new reward exclusive to Singapore that just dropped. KJ, do you want to tell people a little bit about that?
All right. For the exclusive award that was mentioned by Jack, So you will basically be getting a print edition of the Great Commandment, but on top of that, you will also be getting this at least one of these original art pieces for the Great Commandment. I won't be showing the rest in case of spoilers. Yeah, but that's just the first page. Yeah, so you get to choose one of it, and I will personally deliver it to you in Singapore. Right, it's only available in Singapore, so please support our project. And yep.
Like we said, this is a Singapore exclusive. I am sorry to all my fans here in the Western Hemisphere. You're kind of screwed. But what this means is what you need to do if you're a super fan living around me in Boston or even in California. What you need to do is you need to get the reward. Then you need to get on a plane to Singapore. So KJ can get you that reward. Wait until after the campaign and after we get the funds. And then you can fly to Singapore. You can meet KJ and say hi for me, because I haven't had the chance to do that either. This is the kind of thing that I love about anthologies. I was talking about this with the creators beforehand. And very much like social media and the internet as well. We've had people from England and Italy, from California, and I was asking them point blank, how did you hear about this anthology? Because I know I have no clue who you are. And their response was like, oh, this one indie review site was like posting all these calls for anthologies. I'm like, but I didn't tell these people about that. No, they tracked you down. The internet is a wonderful, scary place. But would we have actually been able to see everything if KJ wasn't scrolling through Facebook and was like, oh, hey, I know a writer who can totally work with this, and I've got a colorist on lock. So there is this anthology is supposed to be about personal interpretation, personal understanding of external forces. That's why we say the Great Command space meant. But we are going to break this idea a little bit. We are going to engage in a little hypocrisy instead of personal interpretation. And the reason being is we have the creators right here. We want to ask KJ, Povet, and Colette, what do you want people to take from Fall from Grace or from this anthology, or even from this really upside down year that is the coronavirus? Let's switch things up and start with Povet.
I think in relevance to the year and in relevance to the story, I think one of the most important things is to be humble and patient in a way, or at least these two things are the most important things. Because when you read the story, you'll know what I mean. But as you go through your own personal struggles, your personal problems, and like the way you handle day-to-day life, it's important to be humble because you're not going to know how everyone else around you feels. And I think it is important that you kind of do it in a way that you're patient, not just to get external forces to kind of control you, but to make sure you're making decisions that are not too arrogant and you're not getting too overwhelmed, just to kind of have a good pace at things.
Excellent. Colette, what do you want people to take from Fall from Grace?
I hope that this story will be an encouragement to everyone that is reading it, especially in this quite a critical time in the world whereby we are all waiting for a vaccine for COVID-19, and at the same time for fellow believers to actually hold close to your heart this commandment that God has given us.
Absolutely. Colette and I probably have the same problems that we have in our faith communities of desire to really come close together, like in past crises and past pains and miseries. What church communities could do is just jump in, and we're going to all huddle together in the church, and we're going to pray together, and that's going to make everything seem a lot better. And our church leaders right now are like, no, we can't do that. No, absolutely not. We are not doing that specific thing. We are going to hug each other socially distant. We are going to hug each other over. Colette, is that similar to your experience in Singapore?
Yes, I mean, we are pretty strict on like the social distancing rules. I mean, just queuing up in the mall, we are constantly reminded by ambassadors to space out and all. So yes, and then I'm not sure if it's the same for US. Like most of our church services has been moved to online, and then mass gatherings are also really downsized.
I feel I just need to mention this. I am a believer. I am a believer in the Lord God Jesus Christ and as our Lord and Savior. Please wear a mask. Please wear a mask. Please socially distance. I cannot believe I need to say this, but God wants you to be safe and healthy and to listen to the wonderful gift that is science that He has given us. I'm sorry that I preempted you, KJ. What would you like people to take from, say, Fall from Grace, or and this year and everything else?
Yeah, I think what our Fall from Grace story is the main thing to try that we are trying to bring across is also partly basically that whole idea of it is very easy to praise the God, or basically gives credit to God when you are down, or when you need Him. It's very easy to so-called rely on Him, but whenever you are successful or when you are doing well, it is easy for people to just forget about Him. And I myself would also be guilty about it, of course. Yeah, so I think it would be a good reminder, not just for Christians, but for whoever that is reading it. So like Pavi also mentioned, to stay humble, even when you are successful, and to always remind yourself of of where you have came from and your roots. Yeah, so that I would think would be the biggest takeaway if anyone is reading the story.
Excellent. Please practice humility, not just in your failures, but in your successes as well. Take the words spoken from Colette, KJ, Povet, and God. Besides an amazing shout out to Pavi for our comments, I am not seeing anything else thus far. Tomorrow will be our first day off of interviews for the first time in like 2 weeks. And then I will be speaking with Jay Moores. We are going to be going from Singapore, thousands of miles away, between the four of us to less than 100 between me and Jay. We're going to go very, very local. So please get the Great Commandment. It is available. We will ship it to Singapore, I promise. Get out there and enjoy. We are saying that the comic scene and manga is new in Singapore. It is fresh. To borrow lingo from kids way, way a long time ago, it is hip and happening. I am not cool at all under any circumstances. I never was, and I don't pretend to be. Thank you all so much for watching. KJ, Colette, and Povet, are there any final words that you would like to add? I'm seeing.
Yeah, just support the Great Commandment and back it on Kickstarter. I think that there are still 17 or 16 days left. Am I right?
16
Yeah, so the
days.
link is below. Yep. So remember to back it before the campaign ends. And like Jack mentioned, the book will be shipped to you. Yeah, and if you want our autograph next time when the book is shipped to you, yeah, we will gladly do it.
I have this dream that one day I'm going to get the Y Faith creators and the Great Commandment at some convention, and we're going to do a massive signing party. But it's going to be it's got to have to be something like San Diego or something completely weird. All right, when KJ makes it, everyone go to Singapore. He'll pay for the plane ride. Right, KJ?
Um,
I'm going to take that as a maybe.
if we make enough money from the Great Commandment. So yeah, so remember to back it so that the creators can come over to Singapore.
Exactly. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday over here and a rest of your Tuesday far flung into the future that is Singapore. Thank you all so much. God bless. Take care. Colette, would you like to say final word and a prayer as we jump out?
Oh, I just wanted to thank you for organizing this, Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yep. So would a short prayer?
Absolutely, that would be wonderful.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time, and that thank you, Jack, for creating this story so that he can include creators from all walks of life and from different religions, and I give thanks for him having the ability and this gift of doing comics, and that sharing your word and in a different way. I pray that you'll watch over this process and watch over this anthology, and that more will hear about you. All this I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care. God bless. Good night and good day. Take care, everyone.